The former Congresswoman Liz Cheney called Donald Trump an unrecoverable catastrophe on Sunday and urged fellow Republicans to vote for Democratic nominee Kamala Harris in November's election. We see it on a daily basis. Somebody who was willing to use violence in order to attempt to seize power, to stay in power. Someone who represents unrecoverable catastrophe, frankly, in my view, and we have to do everything possible to ensure he's not reelected. Cheney said in an interview on ABC News this week, a show on the network that is hosting Tuesday's debate between Trump and Harris. I keep forgetting how close that is. Cheney also reaffirmed her endorsement of Harris and urged other prominent Republicans who have stated they plan on writing in a third option rather than vote for Trump to cast their ballots for the Democrat instead. At the end of the day, you just have to wrestle with your own conscience when you're there in the voting booth. And I would expect that you will see far more Republicans, independents, when the time comes and they've got to make that decision, make the right decision, said Cheney. Given the closeness of this election, particularly if you're going to find yourself voting in a swing state, you've got to take the extra step. If you really do recognize the threat that Donald Trump poses, then it's not enough to simply say, I'm not going to vote for him. Asked whether she is still a Republican, Cheney claims she is still a conservative. She said she hopes to rebuild the Republican Party after the 5th November presidential election. A number of other Republicans have stopped short of endorsing Trump, who has been convicted of criminally falsifying business records while also facing other charges in connection with his attempts to reverse his defeat to Joe Biden while running for re-election in the 2020 presidential race. They include George W. Bush, Trump's former Vice President Mike Pence, U.S. Senator Mitt Romney, and Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. Harry Hogan. On Sunday, Nikki Haley, who we'll talk about her later. Cheney fell out of favor with many Republicans. Many in the Republican Party have criticizing Trump and serving on a congressional committee which investigated the attack that his supporters aimed at the U.S. Capitol in early January 2021. She lost re-election in Wyoming in 2022 to a Republican primary challenger backed by Trump. On Friday, her father and Bush Vice President Dick Cheney announced he plans on voting for Kamala Harris in November, rebuilding his own party, or rebuking his own party. A statement from Dick Cheney cited Trump's attempts to overturn 2020 election. Now, this endorsement, and I contemplated playing the clip of Liz on the shows yesterday, but I decided not to because I just didn't feel like editing today. You can call me lazy, I don't care. This was something that I thought, like, it's interesting for reasons that we'll get into after I just go through some of the stuff that she said. Okay, so we knew she was one of the people that drew a line at the whole insurrection thing, right? That was her main sticking point. That's what drove her and the Republicans to just not be on the same page anymore, at least when it comes to just that particular issue. But really, there's two parts of this that are interesting. She mentions that she wants to rebuild the Republican Party in the event that Trump loses in November. Good luck with that. These people have, for the last 9 years, been completely devoted to him, entirely on his side. I mean, she lost her House seat in spite of voting with Trump. I think it was 92% of the time as a member of the House because of her participation on the January 6th committee. So how she thinks she's going to be able to rebuild the party, mystery to me. But the other part of this is that with many of the people who are on the anti-Trump, I guess, alignment within, that are like conservative leaning, they allow their own personal vanity to get in the way of whatever shared positions they may have with Trump as a candidate. So, for example, Mitt Romney, who agrees with Trump on a lot of different issues, famously gave the anti-Trump speech back in 2016. This is a guy who becomes a senator and becomes the first member of the party of a sitting impeached president to vote for the president's impeachment just because, just to spite him. And it's the same thing here. Liz probably does not agree with Harris on damn near anything, and you can absolutely bet that in an alternate universe where Trump won, in an alternate universe where Trump either won in 2020 or Trump lost as he did in real life, but decided to not play that stupid thing of, oh, it was stolen, it was rigged, it was stolen. And it was Biden who just had his 4 year term and there was no January 6th committee. Cheney would almost certainly still be in the House, and she would be calling Biden and Harris socialist, and they're trying to give you socialized medicine and socialized education. I could see it because that's what she did. If you go back to her old congressional YouTube channel, which is still up, you will see videos of her talking trash about the Biden agenda, his inability to get crack down on the border, all this stuff. And I'm just saying that it shows you, for a lot of these people, the thing that's most important to them is their own ego. Dick Cheney is checked out of politics. He doesn't care that much anymore. He's been out of it since 2009. He writes some little stupid, books after retiring as VP, but he's mostly been out of it. But he's really upset with Trump. Not really for January 6th, but for the fact that he ended his daughter's pretty promising political career by doing something stupid, and then her being one of the few people that had a little bit of a spine to call that out, and having to face the repercussions as really the only person who was a sitting member of Congress up for re-election right after that happened that rebuked him, who ended up getting the shaft. So this is really all about just trying to keep your own. This goes back to what I said. Politics should be about issues, and when it's not, you get stuff like this. You get stuff like the congresswoman who voted with Trump 9 times out of 10, endorsing his opponent, who she doesn't agree with on damn near anything, and her dad, who, his endorsement should be like poison to anyone on the left. Right along for the ride, because he just he despises Trump so much. He doesn't care as long as whoever the Democrat is manages to beat Trump. It's really sad that this is like these. I guess it's frustrating because I'm looking at these quotes, and I didn't watch the interview. I may go back and watch it later, but they don't ask her, look, you agreed with Trump's record at least when you were in Congress. Why would you vote for or support the person who we can reasonably infer you agree with a lot less? They don't try to make this about policy. I'm just hearing about what Trump tried to do on January 6th, which was bad, and then some nonsense about what she intends to do after the election, and how she believes in the American people. It's like, lady, listen, unfortunately there's a lot of American people, millions of them, who would rather have the convicted criminal 50% chance of becoming the next president than there were of people in Wyoming that want to keep you in office after you turned against their dear cult leader. It's just an unfortunate reality of the American political scene. And maybe something will change, but I don't think it'll be anytime soon.